Hey gang, I'm back. Well, yesterday, Monday the 10th, was the season premiere of Supergirl, but since it's no longer on CBS, I can't watch it on CBS All Access, so I can't watch it live on Monday nights anymore. However, it's now it's on the CW, and CW has their own streaming service, and we have access to that, and it's free. And it works better than CBS Access, like almost no issues whatsoever so far. But they don't have a live option. You got to watch it the day after. So, For Real Supergirl Vlogs is back, but it's going to be a day late. And I need to remember to basically stay off Twitter on Tuesdays because I follow all of the hosts of Supergirl Radio, plus the Supergirl Radio feed, plus Sterling Gates, the writer of Supergirl from around the time of the new Krypton story before the new 52. Basically, my feed is full of Supergirl, so starting Mondays at 8 till whenever I get a chance to watch it on Tuesday, I need to remember to stay off Twitter and be careful on Facebook. And hey, even when I was watching it live, I still managed to not get these up on right away sometimes. But yes, so what's Supergirl like now that it's on the CW? Well, if this episode is any indication, this is going to be fan-flippin-tastic. This was better than the pilot. This was as good. This just was really solid, but I want to dig into, one real big part of this episode. Superman made his official debut on the show. And, you know, on Facebook, one of my friends said he's still catching up on season 1, but he wanted to know one thing after I watched this episode. I'm going to tell him separately because he's probably not going to watch this. That he wanted to know that if they got Superman right. And he also added the disclaimer that he does not consider what we've seen in Man of Steel. He specified Man of Steel, not Batman v Superman. That is not Superman as far as he's concerned. Which is fair. I'm not here to argue that point. But I understand his frustration because I've been thinking about this a lot probably since Batman v Superman or around then, but because I realized that Superman is really hard to nail down, and I don't ever think there's been a live action version that's gotten him exactly right. Before anyone goes screaming Christopher Reeves, I do want to bring up one important bit from Superman 2, because I've actually not seen Superman 3 or 4, though I've heard enough about Superman Season 4 to know it's hilarious. But anyway. And I think this is in both versions, both the theatrical and Richard Donner cut. But, plot point in Superman 2, spoilers, is Superman gives up his powers so he can be with Lois Lane, after she finds out who he is. They go to a diner, and Clark he just gets beat the hell up by, a redneck a-hole trucker. I don't remember if he was a redneck, that wasn't fair. Then the end of the movie, where, everything is undone, he's got his powers back, time is rewound. In the Richard Donner cut, I know time is rewound. And like I said, I don't know if this is in both versions. But either way, Clark, with his powers, goes back. And the way I remember the scene going down is the trucker doesn't remember who he is. So that's why I'm, specifying I don't know if it's in both versions. I can't remember. But basically, Superman beats him up and humiliates him. Clark Kent beats him up and humiliates him, but, it's all basically, Superman gets revenge. And if we're going with the time rewound thing, he gets revenge for something that didn't happen. So, yeah, no. Superman shouldn't do that. So, I want you to understand that is where my barometer is, that I don't even think Christopher Reeves got it right. I think Henry Cavill's a great actor, but I take many issues with his Superman. Dean Cain, I mentioned before on these vlogs that He is one of my favorite live-action Supermans. I don't even think Lois and Clark got it 100% right, because I rewatched the first season. I found it really cheap around the time Man of Steel came out, of Lois and Clark. And there's a hypnosis episode, or no, it was a perfume episode. Psycho lady has perfume that makes people fall in love with people. And as Superman convinces Lois he's under the effects so he could so he can, make out with her for a bit. To the point he even winks at a camera. He winks at the camera before he does it. And I'm not meaning that as a criticism so much as because I enjoyed that scene. It actually made me like that take on Superman. It made him sort of relatable to me because that's a very human thing. That's a very hard thing to say no to. But again, this is what makes Superman so difficult to get right. Is that he's not so much a character as he is an ideal. He is something to live up to. So, okay, all that said, just, give you context for what I'm about to say for, my barometer so I want you to understand the significance of what I'm about to say here. I think this is the closest we've gotten to a perfect live action Superman. He was that darn good. He and to be fair, a lot of what I criticized was due to the writing, not so much as the performances. That is fair. And so you can make very valid arguments for all the people I mentioned that they were better actors than Tyler, forget his last name. And I won't even argue that point, but in terms of writing combined with the performance and the charisma and everything, they nailed it. All right? This is as close to what Superman should be, at least in my opinion. Obviously there are many different interpretations of what Superman should be. I mean, so, I'm not trying to say I'm right and y'all are wrong. I just want to say, from my point of view, this was as close to as perfect as Superman has ever been in live action. And again, the acting was great. He definitely nailed Clark Kent right from the get-go, because we first see him as Clark Kent. And, just the interaction. He more than anything, I have to say he had wonderful chemistry with Melissa Benoist and wonderful chemistry with Supergirl. So, again, that just helped so much. Just like the first bit after they save the bit, kids come up to me, oh my God, Superman, oh my God, Supergirl, and they, oh, Supergirl's, oh, I usually say hi, he goes, me too. I mean, that's a great little moment, and then they top it off with Supergirl saying, by the way, I used to change his diapers, and he's like, oh, they don't need to know that, and it's like, oh, I think they do. So, I mean, it's just right off the gate, that was perfect, and, I can't think of, I watched it about an hour ago, because after finishing watching Supergirl, I also watched Gotham. So it's not fresh in my head, not to mention my memory issues with my ADD and all. But there's no moment in this episode where I went, that's not what Superman would do. I was surprised that there was like tension between him and Martian Manhunter. And I found out there's a perfectly legitimate reason for that. The main reason I'm mostly surprised by that is, what little bit we got about their relationship in season 1 is that, they were besties. Well, maybe not besties, but anyway, so I was surprised by that, but they made it work. So yeah, I've gushed about Superman enough. I want to talk about some other stuff because I'm already approaching 10 minutes, and that's the limit I try to give myself for these things that I almost never meet. But yes, this episode just had spotlighted just about everything that made the series great in season 1. All the stuff you loved about season 1, or I loved about in season 1, was cranked up to 11 for this. We got to see Alex kicking ass. We got Cat Grant being awesome, and since Calista Flockhart is no longer part of the regular cast, we have we have set up for why she's not going to be around as much. We got Win being Win, and he's great, and he's official part of the DO, which honestly makes perfect sense. So yes, I'm very happy about that. We got Kara being completely adorkable. We got like the only person I felt was really shortchanged was James because he's barely in this at all. But you know, where he when he was showed up, he was as charming and handsome and understanding as ever. I mean, I loved. Granted, it wasn't it wasn't a big moment, but they did have a moment with Clark, and I really enjoyed that. And speaking of Cat Grant, I loved Cat Grant just getting all schoolgirl giddy over him. It was great. I love that Clark's with Lois. That Lois knows, but I said I was going to stop talking about the Superman part. But yeah, since I brought up James, this episode starts with Kara being excited for their first date. The first date gets interrupted, and at the end of the episode, they break up. I'm fine with this if this is the end of that storyline. If this closes the book on Kara and James as a romantic couple, I'm fine with it. Because I'll admit, when it was happening, I was rolling my eyes like, oh god, they're doing the will they, won't they crap. But, again, this is something I'm not going to get into, but to me, it made perfect sense because of what I have gone through in my life. And, so, again, I mentioned before, part of the reason I like this show is it given me insight to my depression and all my, mental stuff I got going on up there. So, excuse me. So, if they leave it at that, I'm satisfied. I think I maybe would have liked to see them try to have. I want to see Kara try to have a relationship with the superhero thing. I know it's a cliche thing, reading comic books all my life. I doubt they could do anything with it to surprise me, but as long as it's done well, I will be entertained. And a good way to at least try to add some freshness to it would be to go through all the tropes with someone who knows, so someone knows why the dates are constantly canceled. But again, as long as that is the official end of it, I'm okay with it. It also gives me hopes that maybe Kara and Win will end up together. Because if I'm going to ship anybody, it's going to be Kara and Win, because Win is still my spirit animal. So, yes, the episode just hit the ground running. So glad. Oh, and one thing. Oh, Lena Luthor! I can't believe I almost forgot to talk about Lena Luthor. Lena Luthor is what I wanted Max Lord to be in season 1. This is, I mean, if they played the Max Lord storyline beat for beat, the way, maybe without all the Alex stuff, I don't know. Well, if they had done what they did in season 1, exactly the same, but with Lena Luthor instead of Max Lord, I would have been perfectly fine with it, because that makes sense. It makes sense that she is the knockoff Lex Luthor. I did a whole another video on that. But so far, I'm liking that. I really like the actress. I liked her performance, and I like that for as far as we know, she is on the level. She is trying to, redeem her family name. I like that she had a reason to love Lex, but, as far as we know, she understands that he is a terrible person. I'm not gonna lie, I am expecting the big twist to be she has been evil this entire time. She's founding Cadmus or whatever, which again we got a preview of. I'm excited to see where that's going. So yeah, this is good. Though speaking of Maxwell Lord again, I'm hoping he's not gone, because he didn't show up at all in this. I would really hate if they just sort of swept him under the rug, because, for all my griping about him last season, I know I mentioned in my vlog for the season finale, it looked like they were finally going in a different direction for him, and I was looking forward to see what that would be. So I'll be disappointed if we don't get at least some episode, I mean, even if it's just so they mention it in passing, whatever happened to Max? Oh, something happened with one of his inventions and he lost his company. I don't know. But he had the Omega Hedron at the end. They can't just ignore that. That would really irritate me. And again, him having some kind of interaction with Lena would be really interesting. But yeah, so far I really like Lena. I'm curious to see where that goes. If they, like I said, I'm predicting she's going to be evil. As long as they do that well, I won't mind. But I would also wouldn't mind being surprised. Uh, but yeah, great start to the new season. I'm so happy they got Superman right. Um, I'm glad he's sticking around at least for one more episode, which I will probably talk about, more. I do love that this episode put to bed the rest of one of the big arguments about season one is that, oh, he just dropped her off at the Danvers and never saw her again. I understand why people thought that in the pilot, but I think as the season went on, that was kind of made pretty obviously untrue. But there are some lines of dialogue in this episode that only work if they've encountered each other before this. So, yeah, I'm just glad they finally just put that to rest. They have a relationship besides I am chats. They have met in person, and yeah, they interact like family. They interact like they knew each other. Again, the chemistry was fantastic. But I am quickly approaching 17 minutes, so I love this episode, and I'll see you guys next week.